Hey, morning. Here we are. It's Kevin Wright. Back for another property finance Q&A. So skipped a week last week because I was on holiday. But back now and ready to take some questions. So if you're watching this live, thanks for joining. If you're watching a replay, thanks for catching it when you couldn't watch it live. So, hey, if you're watching the replay, just stick hashtag replay in there so that I know you watched it. That'd be nice. Thank you. So we'll wait for some questions to come in. Where we are? Few hellos and mornings, and hope I had a good break. I did. Yeah, very relaxing, chilling out, doing not a lot really. And since I crammed about 6 months meetings into 3 months because of lockdown, so I normally run events in February to June, and couldn't do February's because of lockdown, couldn't do March's because of lockdown, couldn't do April's because of lockdown. So I squeezed those months into May, June and July. So there we are. Well, 5 months work into 3 months in anyway. So meetings. So yeah, it's a pretty hectic period. Dashing around various parts of the country, and but now nothing's happening until I restart events again in September. So we'll got 4 buy, refurb, refinance summits coming up: Leeds, London, Bristol, and Birmingham throughout September, and the Birmingham one's on the 3rd of October. And they'll be the only 4 I'll be doing this year. So yeah, that was good. So questions, guys, questions. That's why we're here. What questions have you got? Actually, someone put a post I answered over the weekend when they said, what's the difference between freehold and leasehold properties? So I gave quite a succinct, short definition. And I said freehold is where you get to choose what you want to do with the property. Leasehold is where the freeholder tells you what you can and can't do with the property and how much you're going to have to pay them to get their permission to do it. So that's quite a short and to the point difference between freehold and leasehold. Of course, leasehold has extra charges. You've got ground rent to pay, and you've got management fees to pay, which of course don't have with freehold. So not only can't you do what you want with leasehold, you've got more charges for not being able to do what you want. So there we are. So a few more people joining in now. This is a property finance Q&A, and the object of that is that you ask some questions about property finance and I'll answer them. And if that doesn't happen, we won't have a very productive session, will we? So yeah, a few more people joining now saying good morning. Good morning to you. So I normally hang around here for about 30 minutes or so, just dealing with a few questions. And then I'll get off and do my day. Actually, we're talking about the BRR Summit. I'll put a link in there in case anyone wants to go and book themselves a ticket. Buy, refurb, refinance summit. Let's pop that in the link. Okay. So I've got a question in. So great. So while I answer this question, hey, got a question? Pop it in the chat. Let me see it. Be happy to answer it. T, there we are. Good morning, T. You're already a landlord. Good. looking to increase your portfolio. However, I'm struggling to finance more property. I've looked at bridging loans and additional borrowing on the mortgage. Can you recommend a good company for bridging? Well, T, I can recommend an excellent broker for bridging, and that'll be us, because over the last 10 years, we've brokered, without exaggeration, hundreds of bridging loans. And what you need to know is there are dozens and dozens of bridging lenders, some very similar, but some making different offers. And there's all sorts of little tweaks on bridging. So, for example, there are 5 types of bridging loan. There's a purchase bridge. There's a market value bridge. There's a refurb bridge. There's a done up value bridge. And there's a cross collateral bridge. Now, if you want to find out more about what they are, I've done a video on that, about the 5 types of bridging. So I'm not going to explain that in now, because that would negate the point of doing. I'm just looking for that video now. Explaining it now would negate the reason for doing the video in the first place. So let me just find that. Here we are.
Pretty complex, but this is going to really simplify it for you. So
let's pop that in the chat and stop it running. Don't want that. There we are. Okay. So T, the first thing to do is watch those. Watch that video when you've got the 5 types of bridging. Now, if you're not experienced at bridging loans, here's the issue. How do you know whichever one I say is a good company? How do you know they're going to be the best for the property and the deal that you want to do? And the answer is, without our experience of bridging, you don't. And, I often see people say this, this is often a question in Facebook groups. Hey, does anyone know a good company for bridging? Now, let me give you a paraphrase of how weird that could be. So let's just say we change the bridging and say to a car. Hey, anybody recommend a good car I can buy? Now, that's obviously a highly personal thing, because people put cars to amazingly different uses. You've got people carriers, you've got estate cars, you've got sporty cars. I mean, look, think of the different ones. Now, everyone's going to say, oh, I love my sporty car, or I love my people carrier. So let's just say, a few people say, hey, I think you should drive a Mini, because they're really good. The insurance is cheap, the fuel economy is good, and blah blah blah. This is why Mini's wonderful. Now, you're sitting there thinking, well, hang on, I've got 4 kids and my partner, wife, and I've got 2 dogs as well. We're never all going to fit in a Mini. So what was the point of telling me it's a Mini? So when you're asking for opinion on a something without any factual background, you can go completely in the wrong direction. So my suggestion is, well, I don't know if you found my YouTube channel yet, T, but let's put the link to the whole YouTube channel in there. But if you want to educate yourself on bridging, I've got 100+ videos there. A lot of them are about bridging. So you'll see that, we do know what we're talking about. But then we should do after over a decade, and brokering hundreds of bridging loans. So I would say, without boasting, that we know as much about bridging as anyone in the country. So if you want to get the right bridging lender for your particular project, then we'd be very happy to work with you. So let's work on it for you. And if you want an additional borrowing on your mortgage, that's possible too. Again, we're not just bridging brokers. We're fully FCA regulated, directly regulated mortgage brokers. Let's see if we can get you some additional borrowing on your mortgage. But one thing you've got to do, T, if you're going to increase your portfolio, is you've got to understand that you can only afford to buy properties because you're struggling to finance it. You see, you haven't got a big pot of cash, and there's loads of people like that. Now, you can only consider properties that are in a dilapidated condition, that you can fix them up and refinance them at the uplifted value. Maybe you work that out. Maybe that's why you're looking at bridging. Because you'd buy it with bridging, you'd do the dilapidation work, and then you get a mortgage. We can do all of that. I've just seen you put in your thanks there. Great. I'll message you as well once we're finished here, T, and see if I can be of any further help. But thanks for finding this. I don't know whether it's your first time on my live Q&A, but I do them pretty much every Monday morning at 8:30, apart from holidays, which I was on last week. But yeah, it'd be hopefully you'll come back again, and but I'll find you and ping you a message, and be happy to sort of help you however I can. Thank you. Good comment to start the day. Now, what do we got? So, yep, got a question. Pop it in the box, and I'll deal with each one as we go. Morning from Tracy there. Good morning. Here we are, Aston. Aston's. We'll be seeing each other tonight, Aston, because I've got my one of my mentoring groups, Ninja Aspirers. We have our monthly meeting. It's on Zoom tonight, so I'll see you at 6 o'clock, Aston. Aston's done my advanced training, and he's on one of my mentoring programs. Right. So if you're on a purchase bridge and then want to move to a refurb bridge, so for anyone else watching, purchase bridge is where they just lend you to purchase the property. A refurb bridge is where they lend you to purchase the property and lend you the refurb money too. If you want to do it with the same bridging lender after planning is granted later, I assume you would still get the setup charges for the new bridge. Okay. If you'd done it in the way you suggest there, you'd have to pay off the first bridge and start a whole new bridge, because you hadn't asked to borrow the refurb money. So I would actually set that up differently, Aston. I would start with a refurb bridge, and then they've already allocated the refurb money if you get planning. Of course, if you don't get planning, then you can't build something that you haven't got planning for. So therefore, you'd never actually draw down that refurb money. So it wouldn't actually cost you any more to do it that way. Well, it cost you in terms of the arrangement fee, but because that'd be 2% of the whole, that complete and total borrowing, even if you didn't use it. But that's going to be a more cost-effective way than just buying on a purchase bridge, because you can't suddenly say, oh, you lent us the money to buy it. Can we now have a bigger chunk of money? I know we didn't ask for it in the first place, but we changed our mind. We got planning now. Can we have a big chunk of money? They would have to sort of pay off one loan and start the next. Just realised, looking in my camera, just realised my cupboard door's open there. Don't see what that opened, do we? There we are. Good. So don't swap horses midstream, as the saying goes. Start off on the, so if you intend to borrow refurb costs, Aston, start off with a bridging loan that's set up to lend you those when you need them. Good. Thanks for your question. See you later. Not that you're trundling off right now. I mean, I don't mean time to go, but you know what I mean. Okay. As a portfolio landlord, can you also broker remortgaging? Right. So let me see if I've understood that correctly. You're a portfolio landlord, And can we as brokers also broker remortgaging as well as bridging? And the answer is absolutely yes, we can. And we'd be very happy to help you. We've been swapping some messages, I think, previously. So if you need to, let me give you a link. Good way to contact me is on my Facebook page, Kevin Wright Property. I check the inbox at least on a daily basis, and usually more than that. Let's pop that in there. So that's one way to contact me. Just putting that in the chat box now. If you, as you're coming through YouTube, you could also go to the home page of my channel, look for the About tab on there, click on there, and you've got my contact details there. Be happy to help you on that. Good. There we are. So T says, "Oh, which watch the replay, so I keep updated." Brilliant. Glad to know you do that. I believe it's the first question you asked. I don't recognise your name from previously to that. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for asking the question. Let's see if we can help you. Good. Some more people saying good morning. Good morning. And hey, got a question? Pop it in the chat box and I'll answer it before I go. I never leave without answering all the questions. So you know that, you know, if you pop it in there, and I see it, of course, if it comes up in the chat box, and occasionally there's a malfunction with the chat box and I don't see it. So there we are. Right. So new question. This is a bit of a big one here. So I'm still here, but I always think it's good to put the question on screen so that rather than just people have to listen to me, hang on, there's some sort of drill going outside. Let me shut the windows. There we go. Don't know who's drilling what, but we don't need that. Yeah, so I always think it's better if you can read the question, even if you can't see me, and you don't really want to see me, really. You want to just hear me rather than see me, don't you? So, Mark, good morning, Mark. I'm looking to purchase a 6,000 square foot warehouse for 85,000 up in the north of England. Okay, renovation costs a further 50,000. The property rental value, once completed, will be circa 24,000 a year. Okay. Bridging loan to purchase, bridging loan to refurb. Okay, we're back with Aston's thing now, aren't we? Of getting a refurb bridge where you get all of that lined up at the beginning with the same bridger. Okay, followed by a commercial loan to reprice the bridge once completed and rented. Yep, sounds good. Could you give some ideas of figures, including loan to value and personal financial input throughout this process? Yeah, can do that generically, of course, because every deal is different. But yeah, happy to do that, Mark. So you start off with a refurb bridge, and refurb bridge lends you 100% of that £50,000. But they'll probably do that in probably 2, maybe 3 chunks. I'll explain that in a minute. Now, they'll want you to put in £85,000 they'll want you to put in towards the 85,000 purchase price. You might be lucky to get 75%, but because it's commercial, they tend to lend a lower loan to value. So I would expect you to have to put in probably 30 to 35%, somewhere at that region. So let me get my calculator out here. Tap that in there. 85 times 35%. Yeah. So you probably have to going to put in 25 to 30 grand cash, Mark, to complete the purchase of the warehouse. Now, £50,000. It will be paid. You will get the whole 50, but it'll be paid in tranches and in arrears. So that means, let's just say the first tranche was it's 15, 15, and then 20. So let's say I did it like that. So you would use your cash on the first 15,000 to get that proportion of the work done. The valuer would then come back out and inspect your work, sign it off, and then you get the first tranche of 15,000. So you'd spent 15,000, and now you've got 15,000 back in your bank account. So that pays for this the second phase of the work, and you've spent that 15,000. Back comes the valuer, checks what you've done, signs it off, and you get the second tranche of 15,000. Now that should pretty much be enough to finish it off. And when you've finished it, the valuer comes out for a third time and signs it off, and then you'll get the final 20,000. So that's how it works. Now I've just given you a very rough breakdown. You might come to a different agreement. Might be 2 tranches of 25, you know, or you might have 20 as the first one and then 2 15s. So, but that's the principle. So now you've tenanted it, and now you've it's all ready to repay the bridging loan and put it on a commercial mortgage. So then we get a commercial loan. Commercial loans would be up to 75%. Now, if you've added, again, depending what the uplifted value is, so you spent 135 on it, buying it and refurbing it. You've also got your bridging costs as well. And then it depends what the uplifted value is. Now, because it's a commercial warehouse, it'll be a multiple of that 24,000 a year. Now, what multiple that be would depend on a multitude of factors. You know, a lot of it around the tenant, really. You know, what type of tenant is it? What trading history have they got? How long is the lease that they've signed? Are there break clauses, and if so, when? And what's the business they're in? And again, how viable is that business? You know, in terms of, you know, what's the risk and to that business carrying on in business. So all of those things are going to not only determine the rate, but they're going to determine the value, and they're going to determine the loan to value they would get. You won't get more than 75%. You might not get 75%. Now, that was a pretty decent question there, Mark. So I hope that helped you. Now, we'd be happy to do all of that for you. You know, we brokered loads of that sort of stuff before. So appreciate your question. And let's see if we can help you. Assuming you've got a place lined up already, it might be just a sort of an inquiry, something you're planning to do. But assuming you've got the warehouse already, sounds like you have. There we are. So, have we got any more questions? Here we are. Okay, Kazi, oh yeah, thanks for your question. Any lender who provides a regulated bridge for a non-British UK resident to get into the property ladder in auction. Okay, now, so let's sort of work backwards on that. So bridging is used extensively to fund auction purchases because they're geared up to release money in 14 to 28 days. So you would very much use bridging to buy through auction. Whether you want to buy through auction is a completely different matter, because getting a good value property at auction is particularly tough. Most auction properties tend to go way over margin, and it's not uncommon to see a property needing doing up, selling at auction for the done up value, because they've got carried away and overpaid. So I'm not sure that why you'd want to be focusing on auction, Kazi. Typically, it's something that someone new to property says, "Oh, I'm going to be buying at auction," because they've bought into this urban myth that that's where you pick up cheap properties. Most of the time, you can pick up better value deals through estate agents than you can at auction. But when you say getting into the property ladder, that illustrates to me that you're just starting out in property, and so maybe you have bought into that hype. That auctions where you go to pick up great deals. Invariably, it's not. Auctions mostly sell overpriced properties that no one can make any money on. In fact, lose money on. Not exclusively, of course. You can pick and choose occasionally, but you'll waste a lot of time trying to buy deals at auction that you don't end up buying. But that aside, non-British UK resident. Okay, so I would take that to mean that you're currently resident in the UK, but not on a British passport. Any bridger would lend on that. So any bridger, you've got, again, any bridger would lend on to buy at auction. Any bridger would lend because you're not having a UK passport. None of those are a barrier to getting bridging. Now, you mentioned a regulated bridge. Now, that's interesting. Why do you ask about a regulated bridge? Now, is it because you think you've got more protection if it's an FCA regulated bridging loan? Because if you that's your thinking, you're mistaken. Now, there is a thing called a regulated bridge, and it's for purely a property you plan to live in as your main residence. So getting into the property ladder, now is it going to be for property you're going to live in? And if it is, then a regulated bridger would be the right choice. Now, there's not many bridgers that want to deal with that sort of thing. Most of them, they want to be commercial stuff, not main residence stuff. So you'll have probably no more than about a dozen to choose from. Do we have any preference in mind? No, don't have any preference at all, because don't know anything about you and don't know what you want to buy. But that's our skill as brokers, Kazi, is to find you something that you want to buy. And with a regulated bridge, it's not the fact of can you get bridging, it's can you get a main residence mortgage at the back end big enough to repay the bridging loan. Now, as brokers, as FCA regulated brokers, we would have to check all of that out and do full diligence on you personally, on your ability to get a main residence mortgage, and know how much your borrowing power you've got there before we can start looking at the bridging. Now, of course, if this is not for your main residence, then you can disregard all of that, because you don't need a regulated bridge, and a regulated bridge would give you no extra protection under the FCA, because you're not buying a property to live in, you're buying a commercial transaction. In other words, something you want to make a profit from. So there's some ambiguity in your question, but I appreciate you asking it. And happy to pick that up for more. Okay, you've come through YouTube. You want to pick up with me more, Cassie? Love to have a bigger chat with you. So get onto the homepage, go to About, and find the links to contact me there, or contact me on Facebook through the link I gave earlier in the chat. But thanks for turning up. Thanks for your question. Proper Property Planning says, excellent, we'll contact you. Great, I'll look forward to that. I'll watch out for it, in fact. There we are. Valerie. There we are. Valerie's on my Ninja Achievers program. That's my top level mentorship. So she's done all my training, and her and Richard are working with us now. Okay. So great question from T. I thought it was a pretty good question from T. Yeah, was, yeah. Can you give me a call after tea, as I'd like to find out about the main residence? Oh, okay. That's a simple one. I can answer that, Valerie, quite simply. Yes. There we are. Call you in a while. Ram Singh says, good morning, just joined. Good to have you here, Ram. There we are. Brian Ward, okay. Is there any lenders out there who take less than a 25% deposit on buy-to-let mortgages? Answer, yes, there is, Brian. But I would suggest you think very seriously and very carefully about whether you want to use them or not. And the reason is, I've got a video on this. I'm going to find this and put this in there so you can watch this, Brian. But the reason is because 75% is where lenders want to be. And if they offer more than 75%, you can get 80% mortgages. You might even be able to get an 85% one here and there. But they make sure that they end up at 75%. How do they do that? They charge you a higher interest rate and a higher arrangement fee, so that if it's an 80% mortgage, let's say, and you do it over a 2-year fixed rate or whatever, that extra 5%, you'd have paid them back within the 2 years in terms of the higher interest and that. So it's smoke and mirrors, Brian. So you think you get an advantage, but you're actually going to end up paying the same deposit as if you put the 25% in, because they'll just grab it back from you. So it's a false economy. Let me find that while I explain that in a bit more detail. There we are.
Most people want to get a buy-to-let mortgage, go for
Right, found that. I'm just going to pop that in there now, Brian. Okay, so go and watch that video and you'll see why. Yes, there are lenders that will do it, but you're not getting the what you think you're getting. You're going to still end up, by the time the deal is finished after 2 years or whatever, you'll have still put 25% deposit down. Harpreet, as another one of my trainees there, just joined. Good to see you. Brian says, thanks, I thought. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything else on there. Yep. There we are. Think I shall stick to 75%. I think that's a good decision there, Brian. Yep. That would be our guidance, is, stick, even if there are higher loan to values available, stick to 75%. Yep. Good. Okay. So if you've got any more questions, they better come in quick, because we're just gone 9 o'clock and I'm here for 30 minutes, or longer if it takes me longer to answer all the questions. So we're done for another Monday morning. And if you're not used to watching this, then I do this every Monday morning. And wherever you're watching it now, whichever sort of live stream option you're watching it now, because I go out on about 5 or 6, whichever one you're watching now, I'll be back doing the same thing again at the same time next Monday morning at 8:30. So, and when I say I'm about to wrap up, often that's the spur for someone else to ask another question. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this, give me a like in there. There we are. There we are. Mike says, would we have a call today? Yeah, we could probably do that. So Mike and I got set up. Mike's another of my students there. Got a call set up for tomorrow, I think. Yeah. I'll send you a quick, or you send me a quick email. Tell me your availability today, and I've got some time to work around today, so yeah, we can do that. Neil's here watching from Tenerife by the looks of it. Hey, It's sunny here this morning, but I bet it's even sunnier in Tenerife. I'm really grateful for you tuning in from your holiday from Tenerife. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed it. Good. There we are. Okay. So, in the absence of any more questions, I'm going to wrap up, get on with my day and my week, and I'll see you next Monday. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you then. Have a great day.